Now, now,
And we are live. Welcome, guys. It's Wednesday night. International football is upon us, but the saga that is Manchester United Football Club rumbles on and on and on. Today, Alan Brazil on Talkspoke, well, Talk Shite, Talk Spoke, Talk Sport, whatever you want to call it, allude to the fact that some players in the club are not happy with Erik ten Hag and his style of management, his man management, and his discipline. And also allude to the fact that some players, again, the players weren't named, were apparently thought that Jadon Sancho was quote unquote a good guy. Also said that players were annoyed that De Gea had been moved on last season, and also were alluded to the fact that some players weren't happy with the treatment of my man from wearing this jersey, Cristiano Ronaldo. So it's either Alan Brazil, who played for United back in the early 80s as a striker, is talking complete and utter rubbish. B has sources within the club, and he has plenty source, so he's not going to name the players too much. Or C, it is talk sport, talk shite, doing what they always do. Surf the web, look for a bit of a story, and then put out any old gobbledygook during the national break. Also, the gift that keeps on giving, the absolute queen of the English media, Mr. MaGuire, cannot have an international break and England being away without Harry Maguire being front of stage. Now, Nick, I don't know about you, but I wish I had Harry Maguire's media people putting me front and center. Can you imagine the money that I would have made out of men's physique and bodybuilding if I had his people as my agents, literally getting me in front of cameras, even though I've won absolutely nothing apart from a token sub appearance in the Carabao Cup. But apart from that, I've won nothing in my career, but I've been relegated 4 times. But your agent and your marketing people manage to get your name all the time in the media, and every time England play, you are propped up on a chair and you're answering questions. Now, today, Maguire backtracked a bit on the off-on transfer saga during the season. Mick, you recall, we covered in the show, Harry refused to take £6 million payoff to go to West Ham for £30 million in August. He also alluded to the fact in August that West Ham was a bit beneath him, if you recall that. If anything, West Ham dodged a bullet, the fans dodged a bullet, but yet our fans, as of last Saturday, when we got that in American football, they call it a Hail Mary pass, where the game is tied or down and your quarterback just throws a 50-yard pass down the field and you're in the end zone and 4 players jump for it, and by the power of Jesus Christ, your wide receiver catches the ball and gets a touchdown. The sun shines on every dog's ass once in its life. And last Saturday against Brentford, it shined in Harry Maguire's ass when he got the header that ended up on front of Scott McTominay. Now, a lot of our fans, and I've said before on your show and on my Twitter, our fans are goldfish with the attention. Sorry, I phrased. I misquoted myself, Mick. Misquoted myself. Our fans are sheep with the attention span of a goldfish. One would be forgiven to think last Saturday that we had just triumphed in a Champions League final. We came from behind to beat Brentford at home. Yes, Scott McTominay got 2 goals. Credit you. Has he got a future at the club? I still would say no. Can you bring him on as an impact sub when our coach, our much vaulted coach, goes literally 1960s, 1970s long ball tactics? The philosophy, Mick, has gone out the goddamn window when we have to rely on Scott McSideways to rescue us from a fortuitous knock-on by Harry Maguire. But I digress. That's the current state of the club. And Harry Maguire's marketing people, they deserve a special mention. And I think, Harry, whatever you're paying them, it's not enough, mate, because they are doing you absolute professional courtesy, professional pride, and they're putting you center stage yet again. And by the way, Harry, you're still shite.
Okay, guys, welcome back to Mufc Realist TV. And gloves are off, Daly United show. Good to see you, Jay. And we have Tom Journalist here. We're going to talk about the, Glazers out, the takeover.
Yep.
Talk about a lot of things today, Jay. But Tom is waiting in the background. Jarvis is pulling in, but we got to give it to Bella. Bella, take it away.
Welcome back to Mufc Realist TV. My name is Bella. I am a presenter and hostess of this channel. Thank you for tuning in. The show is about to begin. I want you to give this video a cheeky little like and subscribe to our channel if you have not done so yet. As you must agree that I am better looking than Mark Goldbridge. What are you waiting for? Just do it. Smash that like button now. Let's go Reds. Buckle up. Get ready to rumble.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Mandalay Bay, Las Vegas, let's get ready to rumble!
And we are officially live and kicking, and what a words from a big man, Jay Daly. Welcome back to the stage and studio. Tom Journalist, how are you doing, my friend?
Yeah. Evening, guys. Evening, Jay,
evening.
Mick.
Evening, Tom.
And panel, everybody.
Yeah.
As always.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, we got a lot of things to talk about today. As Jay alluded before, it's international break, meaning it's dry week, hump week, whatever you say. Nothing coming out more than, gossip coming out from certain trash channels and trash magazines. And again, we're seeing leaks coming out. Is the dressing room is all that stuff. And, we've seen it all before, Tom, haven't we? Like, as soon as this international breaks, there's always a certain journalist starts reporting about, the fallout in the dressing room and Erik ten Hag is going to get sacked and all that jazz, which is normal, right? We've seen it all before, and amplifying the takeover news as well, to be honest. So just going to bring this to the stage as well, as we're going to discuss this as well, because it's coming out from Ian Stretford Paddock is saying something that we on this channel have been doing for the past 10 months. Doing the Glazers Out podcast, the Sheikh Jassim is on the brink of a Manchester United takeover. And more than that, this is a call-in show. This show is all about you guys in the VR room, everyone that's tuning in. Fire away your questions. Let us know how you're feeling today. Do you think we are going to the right path? What Ten Hag needs to do to turn this around and all that stuff? Yeah. So, welcome, everyone. It's Wednesday. Jay, what have you been up to? I haven't seen you for a week.
Well, I think your AI there already looks like a better presenter than a certain blonde lady on another channel. She already looks more professional.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I mean,
just saying.
She said it herself. She said it herself. I'm sure, smash a like. I'm sure better looking than Mark Goldbridge. And you hear him, bloody hell.
Yeah, well, I don't think she's got much competition there, but I digress. But remember, Mark, he got the contract for the Head and Shoulders ad when we were on the channel together, and of course, Head and Shoulders obviously didn't watch any of my video because I was myself and Kevin Rashford were the guys on the channel with the hair and the quips, but Goldbridge still got the contract Head and Shoulders. But there you go. That's the stand for you, I'm bloody serious, man. I'm serious. That you haven't.
Head and Shoulders, yeah. No,
yeah.
Bella is amazing. Bella is our. I was laughing because somebody was messaging me on Twitter, say how do I get in touch with her? Like, I try to message her, but she doesn't respond, and I was like,
oh my god,
AI.
oh my god.
No wonder she doesn't respond.
Oh my god,
it's creation of Mick Ruby. What the hell?
You should have just said to him, "Sorry, mate, you're punching," and leave it there.
Anyway, big up to all of you. Guys, everyone that's tuning in, it's Wednesday, means that international boring football is on. We had a little bit of momentum, which is a historical comeback I mean, nothing beats a last minute, last second goal scoring opportunity when you nick the goal and win, because that surely has to, bring some momentum into, when we kick off in 2 weeks away, guys, as well. So I don't believe really what the media is reporting, that there's a fallout in the dressing room regarding Ten Hag and all that stuff. So I want to hear from you, Tom. Like, you're the most realist journalist that I know, my friend. What do you take from all this that's coming out in Twitter and stuff like that?
I'll take it as that they've got nothing else to talk about Manchester United, because they're not playing for 2 weeks. And if he would have lost, Erik ten Hag's Manchester United would have lost, they would have been able to spin this for 2 weeks, and you would have heard all sorts of different rumours that the hierarchy are losing faith, or certain minorities of the players. They might have, been specific, and like they did with toward the end of Rangnick, where they said, English players weren't buying into his methods, and there was a divide between European players and the English players in the dressing room. But the thing that we knew anyway with Ten Hag, the one word that was put out there from what I heard anyway with the dressing room, was that they were relieved. There was a lot of relief after they got the win against Brentford. It was a relieving sort of game, because everybody in that, sort of sphere looked at that game, fans and directors even, like, we have to get off this run, we have to win. And by hook or by crook, they got over the line and they won. And Scott McTominay did what he did. And even to his credit, I mean, he actually even had the ball in the back of the net 3 times. He's got a hat-trick, realistically.
Yeah.
Only one of them got ruled out. So I don't know if you can call it a madness of 6-7 minutes, whatever, but it works at the end of the day. But moment of madness. There we go. Yeah. But no, I wouldn't personally look too much into it anyway regarding the dressing room rumours, because the hierarchy at Manchester United, they all fully back and support Erik ten Hag based upon what he achieved for them last season.
I'm not going to mention names, but it's typical. We know who they are. The gossip so-called stenographers. You know what I mean? The echo chambers. Which I just tweeted out today. Say, like, listen, same old stories, same old playbook. United's not playing. They got to create shit. They got to, they have editorials pushing them, like, you got to create stories. You got to create stories. So, that's kind of populist to write, like, about trash about United. There is some dressing room unrest and all that stuff. And, so I just tweeted out, like, be cool and composed and expect this to happen. Like, what do you call it? That movie, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs or something. You know what I mean? It's just ironically speaking. And then on the other hand, like, Tom as well. I mean, we did a podcast about this on Monday as well. So we had a marathon podcast, and unfortunately, you had some technical issues when we came into the takeover. So, we did a cutout segment of that, and there's been some people in the comments say, "Oh, you don't know shit," and the journalist that you had off, like, and he even left because you were so boring. And it's like, well, hang on a second. Did you even watch the whole podcast, mate? Like, so just to clarify, like, we were on for 2 hours that day on Monday, and last segment was to do, like, the takeover stuff, which we did cover a lot regarding who the owners are. We talked about, the potential ambassadors that's going to be involved. So maybe you should just recap on that, because I said that, like, that's kind of a little bit of an old news, due to the fact that if you go back in tweet timeline, if you go on Phil Brown, he even mentioned, he was the first one to mention about Beckham being the ambassador, and Beckham was already an ambassador for Qatar World Cup, right? So, how do you see them more having an ambassador role, like being a PR spokesperson, the facing out, like, for to promote, to be the face out for 92 Holding, or do you see them having some role and capacity within the club?
I think more so if we're talking about David Beckham, he wants an involvement within the football club. At the end of the day, when you look at it for a lot of the players that have been linked, and, even with the 92 Holding Foundation being named after the class of 92, they take umbrage in it, in that they want to have player involvement. They want to have the opinions of the people who have been successful with the football club in that pattern, to try and create the same sort of stimulant to go forward, and they want to have that success going forward. And if you can't, there's always the phrase, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but maybe the old dog can teach the new generation what to actually do. And in I guess, the modern day era, when you look at the job of Sir Alex Ferguson and David Gill in that partnership, in comparison to what you have nowadays with Richard Arnold, John Murtough, and Erik ten Hag as the manager currently right now, I mean, it's worlds apart in terms of not only, it's not just about the experience, but the quality of the experience. But the one thing that we know anyway with what you just put up there about it, the plan from 9-2 Foundation in particular was they always wanted to have involvement of ex-players.
Yeah.
They hadn't spoken to any players at that time, but 2 months ago they had made contact. I know of at least with 2 players, one of which I'm not going to say the name of because I haven't fully verified it at this point.
Yeah,
But the other one, I can sit here and say is David Beckham in this case.
Yeah,
but
sure.
The one thing that David Beckham, as we knew from obviously the interview and everything, that came out, he was at Qatar World Cup. It was so convenient that he was in Qatar. There's a Qatar bid for United, and there's discussed Man United. Put a camera in his face, you get the gist of what I'm saying. And at the end of the day, with the Sheikh Jassim bid, it's about creating the United culture that they had 10, 15 years ago, even as far back as going towards Newton Heath, the working class sort of Manchester United. They want to have that same sort of environment back into the club as it stands right now. And the way you need that is you need characters, you need leadership, but you also need the experience for which the people who are in current capacity right now in CEO role or director of football, they just don't have really. And they're miles behind what any other football club have in terms of experience or even quality of being identifying, what the best people are there for their jobs. And there's always that phrase that's been coined with United: they should have the best in class. And that's what the Sheikh's camp they want. They want the best people in the best roles to lead the club going forward. Yeah. And they believe David Beckham, from not just an ownership perspective, because he owns a team right now, and you take the actual logistics that he knows from that, but also him being a player and obviously love and affection for Manchester United, you can put both in hand together and say, well, he can bring us a lot of actually to the table, really, maybe more so than just being the face of the bid. Why not actually involve him in the decision making at Manchester United?
100%. I mean, we've been speaking also, we're not going to disclose who we are and stuff like that. I do respect everything that we are saying. We're sharing the information, guys. So, just be mindful that, we're not here to tell you this is 100%. We as a community, like, all we want is the Glazers out, 100% full sale only, right? It's time to go. It's time to pack up the keys. And what we're seeing here right now is the start of the crescendo, basically, Tom. It's true what you're saying, because at the end of the day, like, this was always the case. That article came out 6 months ago. The foundation, 92 Foundation, is all about understanding the value of Manchester United, to bring back the old, spirit of Manchester United. That's the reason why they named it 92 Holding Foundation. And that's true that he wants ex-players coming from 92 and the 99 Champions League to be involved, either as an ambassador or some capacity role, and recruiting the best in-class director of football, like Ralph Ragnick, for instance, what I've been hearing. And at the end of the day, is what Jay said, people seems to be having doors to the goldfish. It's all printed, the clues are aligned, Jay, as well, because you can look like a Rio Ferdinand is definitely an ambassador for Qatar, and he knows 92 Holding Foundation. Guys, if you remember when he came out in the summer and said, it's definitely going to happen within a couple of weeks, credible sources, because he speaks to Qatar. But what surprised me, and I want to speak to you about this, Jay, your fellow Irish countryman, the captain, my captain, Roy Keane, because we know that Roy Keane hates the Glazers. We know that Roy Keane fell out, with Sir Alex. And for him to come out and sponsor the third away kit, which is resembling Qatar's colors, does mean something. I want to hear from you, Jay. What were you thinking about that?
Okay, that was major. A couple of years back, the 99 team played the, it was 09 actually, 20th anniversary. The 99 team, 2019, the 99 team played the Bayern Munich team, okay, in a Legends game. And Keno didn't play. Keno wasn't asked to play. Okay, now, obviously, we all know the spat with Alex regarding the racehorse semen and the Irish connection. And we've done a story already, so we're not going to go over our ground, but we've already covered that. So Keane has been vehement in his criticism of Alex Ferguson since. He's been steadfast in his criticism. I did not think Keano would ever be aligned with any marketing campaign with the club ever again. I was shocked when I saw Keano wearing that white jersey, and the club launched that jersey around Keano off his name and his persona. So it's one of two things. A lot of Irish fans were going along the track, oh, Jesus, Keane, you've sold your soul now. You've been out of the club so long. You've sold your soul. You're taking the Glazer money. Or, alternative slant, maybe Keane sees an opportunity now that ultimately the Glazers are going to go. They're hanging on like, somebody hanging on a cliff face, and literally they've got one hand left and the fingers are starting to crumble from the cliff face. So the Glazers are going to go. It's a matter of when. So maybe Keane's overtures towards the club, having to market that kit, that's Keane trying to position himself to get a role with a future rebuild. Beckham and Keane, very good mates. You would never have expected a character of David Beckham or Roy Keane become really good friends, but they are good friends, and it's very well documented. In Roy Keane's autobiography, he referenced Beckham numerous times for his work ethic and his attention to detail in his training and just his professionalism. So Keane gets on with Beckham. They like each other. They've always seen eye to eye. They've never had issues. There's mutual respect. So is Keane positioning himself for a role? I hope he is. Maybe not in a coaching context, because as much as I love Roy, your quote unquote your modern day players / babies, they're not going to really respond to the blood and thunder of a Keane personality anymore. But would you put Keane maybe overseeing youth development? Would you put Keane maybe involved in recruitment? I could see a role for him there that send him out almost as a lead scout. Say, Roy, we're looking for a right back or left back with X amount of X attributes. Go and do the eye test, make your notes, and feed back the information to the recruitment team. So maybe that might be the Roy Keane role. On Beckham then, Beckham has proven himself to be a very cute and astute businessman. Beckham in his playing days, let's be fair, gentlemen, Beckham would not have, or we wouldn't have seen David Beckham as being a business monarch, but clearly he's learned a lot over the years. He's put the right people around him. He's taken the correct advice from his business advisors. And the very fact that Beckham, he spent 4 years orchestrating the move for Messi to come to LMS. Yeah, he spent 4 years in that. So Beckham's proven that he does have a brain that is good at strategic planning. Now, how much of it is David and how much of it is the people he has around him, we're not going to know. So I love Beckham. I always have. So I won't hear bad word against Beckham. I love the guy. But he's got the right people around him. He's taking the right advice. He's making correct decisions. The fact that he got Messi to literally come to MLS and retire MLS, that in itself, that took strategic planning and powers of negotiation. Two things, Jonathan and Mick, that we've been lacking since David Gill left. And probably one of the worst things that happened to us was we had the brain drain leaving simultaneously of Gill and Ferguson leaving simultaneously. In came Woodward.
Bankers took over hijack.
David Moyes, and the whole thing literally got derailed. And the phrase we've heard it used by Gary Neville, who I don't particularly have a lot of time for. He comes on, I turn off. I don't like the guy. He has coined the phrase best in class. Well, right now, Jonathan, I'm sure we would agree, we don't have best in class in strength and conditioning department, which is my area of expertise. Sales and marketing, we don't have it. The forward planning for the infrastructure, developing the ground. Is there a plan to develop the ground? No, because we don't have the money. Carrington, 20 years ago when it first opened, it was cutting edge. But Ronaldo came back and he has gone on record by saying the same issues at Carrington were there. The same pool was there, same weight room was there after 13 years of him being gone. So to get a critical mass of former players, now players with gravitas. Like we're not talking now bring in Darren Ferguson, right? Like no, I'm not having that. I'm not having that. Bring in the elite-minded players that will rise all the staff up a level. Like you're not going to come in as new owner and sack everybody. You can't do that.
No.
Anyway, from labor relations, you can't do it anyway. But you bring in a critical mass of elite performers that people can look up to. A rising tide ultimately lifts all boats, and put experts in the area that best suits their attributes, and let them do their jobs. But the likes of your Arnold, your Murtas, they have to go. Like story dropped. Was it yesterday or today that a female member of staff, the story came out that she had complained to Arnold about the mistreatment of women, female staff in the club, and he basically, in his response, was, "Oh, bring your potential line manager." I'm sorry, mate. You're CEO. You lead by example. You sort it out. You set the tone. His response was, "Well, go to your line manager," and then the usual party line, "Oh, we don't accept this kind of behavior." Blah 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 blah. So that is the current leader of the club, the CEO, the patriarch. So, guys, back in I know we're always going to say back in the day, back in the heyday. The heyday is gone. It's over. It's gone. Can we ever repeat that season of '99? Can we ever repeat that season '96 when we won the double? '94. I don't know if we can ever repeat that. Football has moved on, and there's now 4 or 5 teams in Premiership that can win doubles, not triples, but there's about 4 or 5 teams in our next couple of years that could win a double. Okay, Liverpool, Newcastle, Spurs will strengthen. Chelsea cannot be this bad forever. They just can't. It's impossible. So we now, Jonathan, you may disagree with me, and that's fine. I view us as a second-tier club. We're second tier, and we're a club that's trading off the fumes of our glorious past and history. But in footballing terms and in management terms, we are a second-tier club. So this Qatari ownership, when it comes in, the first thing they got to do is put the structures in place to bring us back up to even be on the same level as our competitors, let alone compete with them.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, spot on. I mean, where would he fit in this role? I would say, for a laugh, as a dressing room manager, it would give them balls. You know what I mean? It would be epic. Like, it would be like Roy Kent in that Ted Lasso, like, oi. You know what I mean? Jokes aside. But but
that character Roy Kent is totally based on Roy Keane. There's no question about it. It's Roy Keane with a Cockney accent.
It is. But Tom, as well, like, I want to hear from you, because there's also been what I heard, David Gill, if Sheikh Jassim wants to have David Gill involved as well with the successful era. I don't think that, Sir Alex Ferguson has done his part, and all due respect, rest in peace, Kathy, and all that stuff. Let the man rest a bit. But I heard that David Gill was potentially be involved in the board again and stuff like that. And, but at the end of the day, it's just, moving forward as a club, as what Jay was saying, like, they were in control. I mean, we're talking about Alex and Gill, but they got kicked out, and the bankers hijacked and took over. The Woodward took, all the credits and glory. They created a very toxic work environment, no high ceilings. It was pretty much hierarchical. Boys for the jobs for the boys. And even some people saying that current CEO Richard Arnold was a recruit from David Gill, but hang on, they're all connected. Like, they're all bankers at the end of the day. They don't understand football.
No, just for the record, Mick, on that, Arnold went to university with Woodward.
Yeah.
Bristol University.
Yeah, Bristol University. That's the link. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say here is that, we had no footballing manners whatsoever. We lost all our DNA in that era, like, you know, when there was Woodward era, like, you know, until he got sacked. And when he got sacked, there was kind of the lifeline from the Glazers that was out, because this guy was the one that was, you know, instrumental of them doing the leverage takeover and making sure they could take out dividends and all that stuff, right? The Super Cup was the blow, was the punch in the nuts, to be honest. And since then, they haven't been able, like, you know, since January, they haven't been able to take out any dividends out of the club. They're not doing well financially. The sales takeover, strategical investment, came out in November, like, you know, we say Thanksgiving. It's almost coming to a year now. And of course, like, you know, takeovers take about 18 months to complete. Some people say, like, well, look at Chelsea. Well, Chelsea was a fire sale. For me, it makes sense that you're totally looking for an overhaul, like, you know, to put the best-in-class people. Ralph Rangnick would be a perfect man for me. I don't know what you guys are thinking. You know, he was supposed to be there as a consultant, but they kicked him out because he spoke the truth. And yeah, well, who would you like to see there, like, you know, running the club?
But the one thing really from Qatar, they haven't really thought that far ahead, because the plan for the Qataris, if they get in, is they want to do a 100-day seated review where they review the hierarchy and they put the relevant people that they need. So that might be Shabazz, that might be Sam Powers of Bank of America, the people that they've been using in the bidding group, and put them in key roles where they have the expertise. So Shabazz, for example, has the expertise of, you know, CEO, financing, the whole global operating of actually a financial sort of character figure. That's his background, really. So putting him, say, next to or over Richard Arnold's shoulder and say, like, right, I'm going to be basically your number two, and I want to see you run the football club and effectively see what you can do. But instead of doing what, you know, Joel, Avram and the Glazer family, their instructions of how to run Manchester United, this is the new way of it. And we want you to follow our instructions and see how far you can take it, in the same way that they might bring in a temporary football figure, like Jay was saying about, say, bringing Roy Keane and put him in a recruitment sort of strategy role, or maybe sit him next to John Murtough and see, like, what does this guy really know? Is he this, you know, elite negotiator or football expert that, you know, he claimed to be when we got our first football director in the football club when Edward had left? But really and ultimately, the Qataris, they haven't got a mainstream name that they're targeting. And the reason being is, why target somebody when you can come in that 100-day review, you can see what you've got, keep what you want, get rid of what you don't, and then you go and get the people for the roles after that. Chelsea was no different. Todd Bowley and Clearlake, they went in their 100-day review, they looked at all of the relevant people. Marina Granovskaya was a Roman Abramovich man. You know,
bring Marina, please, to Manchester United.
You had Bruce Buck, who was the club chairman. They were all Romans people, effectively. So they ripped the rule book out, and Chelsea didn't really follow the script. I mean, they went and got 3 sporting directors rather than getting 1. The two lads from Brighton, Winstanley and Stewart, and then they also went and got Christian Vivel from the Red Bull sort of group at the end of the day, and that's all gone a bit pear-shaped from there because Vivel's left. But the Qataris don't necessarily have that one name, whereas the one thing that we know with the Ineos bid and Ratcliffe is they have earmarked Paul Mitchell. And it's funnily enough that Paul Mitchell isn't in actual employment right now. So when you look at sort of figures in football, we can say Ralph Rangnick, you can say Paul Mitchell, that's fine. But the one thing that we've said with Rangnick anyway was that even when he came in for the 4 months, a lot of people would argue he did the consulting. He told the relevant football director in place at the time, and he told, you know, Darren Fletcher, John Murtough, listen, there's all these young lads, there's all these young kids in, you know, South America that you can go and get for peanuts, who are going to be £100 million players in 18 months' time. And he was proved right. He said it about Caicedo, Alvarez, Enzo Fernandez, said about all these kids who have now either a big European club or they're one step away from going to that club. And they have got that £100 million valuation and asking price. But at the end of the day, Ralph Rangnick, really, he told the directors and he told the ownership, this is what you do. You start from scratch. Open heart surgery was obviously the words that had always been quoted now from him, and it was the strong words of that. But sometimes you've got to be cool to be kind. And if Ralph Rangnick says that's how you do it, and this is a guy who's turned an energy drink really into 3 football clubs in New York, Salzburg, and Leipzig. I mean, the guy's a genius in terms of football. He's,
Yeah.
you know, at the end of the day, you didn't bring in Ralph Ragnick to coach the team, if we're being honest. You didn't.
No.
You
no.
brought him in for his expertise on football, and they listened to him, and they got rid of him because
Yeah.
he spoke too much of the truth, to the point where he made the people who were doing the job that he would have effectively been a consultant for, he basically did the job for them just on a shorter period in 4 months, and then they just paid him off and see you later, gone. But
Yeah.
whether you want to look at it from twofold or either way, the Qataris in the end, they will probably remove the relevant people. I'd be shocked if Richard Arnold in particular was to stay.
yeah.
A CEO of a former ownership doesn't normally tend to stay when you get taken over.
No, you
And I'm
don't.
just going to say it for the fact. A football director is a little bit
Yes.
different because it depends on the actual qualification and experience they have in the role, for which people have said John Murtough, he's completely out of his depth. He doesn't control the transfers. Eric Ten Hag controls the transfers. So maybe there's an argument to say that he might be removed at that point. But again, as I've said it with the Ineos bid, they would want Paul Mitchell. He's the one person out there that I can safely sit here and say that the Ineos group would target and would look at bringing in. And if I'm being honest with you, Paul Mitchell, he's been at Old Trafford. He sat next to Ralph Ragnick. We all saw what we saw in the stands.
Mhm.
And a lot of his family live up north. I think a couple of his family live in Liverpool and Cheltenham and a couple of places. So the
Staley
northern, Staley Bridge, the northern connection would probably be a good thing for someone like Paul Mitchell, bringing him in from his own perspective, from family, but also it would give him a big working role because, as many people phrase it, Manchester United is the biggest football club in the world. And who wouldn't want to be the football director at Manchester United? There's very few.
Which leads me to welcome. We have stars aligned today. The stars of content creators and fan channel faces. We have Jay Daly. I wouldn't say myself as a star, but anyway, welcome Andy Tate. It's been a hot minute. Andy, how you doing? And I want to ask you, Andy, and I want to ask the VR room as well. If you were then Sheikh Jassim, who would be the first person you will get rid of? And who would you appoint as a sporting director?
I definitely get rid of Richard Arnold. The only good thing he did was help me dad. That was it. Thank you very much for that. And Paul Mitchell, definitely get him in. 100-day review, 100-day, P45s, 100 P45s. That's basically what it sounds like. 100 P45s. There will be no survivors. Maybe the tea lady will survive because she brings them chocolate hobnob biscuits. The tea lady survives. You know what I mean?
Calf on reception.
And the woman
Calf on
on
reception. Calf on reception.
The woman in the documentary. Her on reception. God bless her. Scott McTominay mentioned her as well. She's Calf. She's on the reception at Old Trafford.
Yeah. She's part of the furniture.
She stays there. But I'm the tea lady and the biscuits. That's it.
That's it. I want to hear from the chat as well. So big up. Forgive us for not shouting everyone out. So welcome to the stream. We have Andy Tate here. We have Tom. We have myself, and we have Jay. And Jarvis is running late as per usual. What should we do with Jarvis? Should we deduct some Snickers from him, or what's going on here? Anyway, so thank you everyone for tuning in. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Smash that like button. There is over 200 of you in the chat room right now. We try to open up the call-in, for you have to 1 or 2 minutes to say. But we have no football, so we're talking about United in general, regarding the takeover, regarding how we're going to move forward as well. So, Tom, at the end of the day, Tom, there is, according to my opinion, they are working with PR agencies, because this is the biggest. This is going to blow up the internet when it gets announced, right? So you got to sort of work tactically, and you have Rain Group and United. They have their own PR consultancy firm, stuff like that. So they are kind of doing something called media planning, right? And I believe that we are in the foot of that storm right now, where you've seen snippets going out. We spoken offline, you and me as well, to say that this Ineos bid doesn't really make sense. That's kind of little bit like dead out of the water, kind of trying to disrupt it and trying to call the bluff that to get Sheikh Jassim to raise, but they're sitting confident to say, well, we won this race, 25% is not enough. I mean, if you're going to buy out a 12%, 12.5 out of certain Class B shareholders, and which is the Glazers, and you have Bowen and Lindsay Train and Arias and all them stuff, right? So, what do you think? I mean, what do you think is going on there behind the scenes?
Well, really, the Qataris, I didn't obviously get a chance to say it with what happened, and I apologise on behalf of what happened last stream. I had a power outage towards the end of the stream, and
yes,
it was an absolute nightmare trying to get it on. So I did apologise to Mick and Jarvis behind the scenes anyway, and I'm sure Mick can confirm that for anybody who's wondering where my absence was. But no, with the Sheikh Jassim camp, like you said, Mick, they are calm based upon that. The way that they looked at it is that if the Glazers and Rain were going to go with the Ratcliffe bid, they would have done it already. He's not really changed much. They know he doesn't have the major money to buy it straight away at 69%, like what Sheikh Jassim would do. They'd buy the 69% shares straight away and then pick away at the other 31% to delist it, and then they would eventually come to the 100% round figure, which is what they want in the end game. And the way that the Qataris have really looked at it is that they will pay a fair price for Manchester United, but they've insisted that they won't overpay. And the phrasing of overpay, you can say it for what it is. You can say that's the 6 that people want to say it for. They want to meet that evaluation or not. But the Qataris, they've never ruled out bidding one last time. They've never gone to the Glazers and pulled the offer away from the table and said, listen, we're done, we're withdrawn, that's it. They've always still sat there, they've been waiting to hear back and listen, and they've not heard back and said that your 5th offer's accepted. But the one thing that they've never done is they've never nailed it down to say that we won't bid again. And the reason being is if they want to pay 6 behind the scenes, whether you want to believe the story of private individual and context or country or not, at the end of the day, if they want to pay 6, they can pay 6. It's not an issue.
Yeah,
the guy whose father is actually involved in this in HPJ, he built that pot for that country that have over 200, 300 million, billion dollars in a pot, QIA's investment pot. They built that, him and the Emir of Qatar over 20, 25 years. So in terms of a sustained period, they don't believe that the Ratcliffe offer, even at 25%, they're not sweating, because why would you sweat over the 25% when that's basically what a minority investor's been offering the Glazers for months? That's what Carlisle offered them. That's what Elliott offered them. 25%, exactly, but 25%. just no buyout over 3-4 years. That's the only difference to those bids.
That's the only caveat what they are playing for. They think that this is the trump card. They identify the weakest link, which is Jolan and Avram, to offer them to stay. But then they keep forgetting that there's 4 other siblings that is equally wants the share of the pie, that has equally voting rights, that wants to sell. So this is the caveat at the end of the day. And they've been sitting there quite, because I speak to 92 Holdings as well. So they sit there quite comfortable, calling the bluff, because they don't. The feeling around them has always think that Ratcliffe's bid is kind of been not too serious. It's been a smokescreen and prop to get them to sort of raise the bid. So they just sit in there quite comfortable. Tom, if you do remember, they went straight behind the backdoor bypass Rain Group, spoke directly to the Glazers and say, how much do you want? And that is the bid that is on the table. And that is pure cash, right?
And just to add further context, Mick, the Glazer family went to Nasser Al Khalifi, for people that maybe not forgot. Big influential football, sports figure within Qatar. They went to the guy who basically runs the sporting project for Qatar and said, can you help us? Can you get involved in this bid? Can you get them to increase? 48 to 72 hours later, Sheikh Jassim put in another bid. So you can look at it either way. The Glazer family went to them. And then, as you just rightly said there, Mick, they bypassed Rain. They put the bid on Rain's table, but they also bypassed them and they gave it straight to the Glazers, for which they still haven't heard back from the Glazers legal team or lawyers in the Rothschilds. So at the end of the day, there's swings and roundabouts, but they've covered all bases. They've gone direct and they've also gone through the process. So,
but either way, Rain gets the commission either way, and they want to sell anyway. So I don't, I'm cool and composed regarding this, because I know from, at least from the Qatari side, they feel quite confident, adamant, and months ago, even like during the summer transfer window, they felt they were winning the bid, and that's it. Like and that's what I said. There got to be some media strategy planning regarding how you're going to release this, right? And surely it's going to be Reuters or Bloomberg's, or not going to be any of these, the Guardian or something like that. So, I mean, how do you prepare for such a story? Like, how do you prepare for such a announcement? Will it be through a club announcement, or will it be like exclusive to Bloomberg or Reuters? And what's your gut feeling telling you? Like, what would normally happen? Because my experience is it will go through an announcement through the club, or it will be through one of these business publications that the whole world is reading.
Well, because of obviously NDA agreements that are in place for all parties, it's very unlikely that it would go to a broadcast journalist, or it would go to a media journalist working for the BBC, or someone, say, like myself, where it would just come through to you. It's very unlikely that would happen, based upon you wouldn't know the numbers. That's a big thing that I think a lot of people would want to know, is how much somebody has paid for Manchester United, for which you're not going to know until verification of the process. But you could again have the situation where you can agree the fee, you can agree basically everything that you're going to pay for it, but people just assume that as soon as they agree the price, that's it. It's not. As soon as they agree a price, it would reasonably, if we're talking quick sort of time scale, it can take 4 to 6 weeks to put a football club through. And the reason being is it's got to pass all the different checks, UEFA, the Premier League, they've got to do the owners and directors test, but also the lawyers and all of the different media companies, they need to get their cut share of what's coming out of the proceeds. They all need to be paid at the end of the day. Everybody needs to be paid. So it's going to take quite a considerable amount of time, even when a fee's agreed. And unfortunately, I don't want to terrify or scare enough Manchester United fans. Even when a fee's agreed, people can pull, there will be a pull-out clause if a party wants to pull out of the whole agagreement. Yeah, they will get, they'll have to pay a financial penalty if they want to do it. But some people, they have a change of heart, and they think, no, what do I stand to gain from the deal? You might have the Qataris agreed to the $6 billion. It might be all signed and sealed that that's the price. And then suddenly the Glazer family could just ping one in there and say, we want 7 now.
Jonathan,
even if it's signed.
Question for you. In your estimation, then, we're looking then really not even next financial quarter. We're looking down the road 2 more financial quarters before a deal is finally signed, which brings us literally into next summer. Is that not a fair assessment?
It can take as long as it takes. At the end of the day, with how it's been portrayed, the Qataris have always stood by it's a private individual bid. But I think nobody. I know nobody on screen. Anybody's wearing glasses, but I don't think you need to wear glasses to know or look behind the curtain to say that this isn't an individual, because Sir Jim Ratcliffe's got a net worth of over $20 odd billion, and he can't afford to buy it on his own as a person. He's having to use financial instruments to do it. Yeah. So I'd relatively, when nobody knew who Sheikh Jassim was, I'd find it very unlikely if he was just had £6 billion sitting there in his account. But in terms of a time scale, it can take really long. We saw how long it took with Saudi Arabia to buy Newcastle. I mean,
18 months.
PAF, they put the proposals in place. It took them 4 months to agree the deal. They put the paperwork on the table. It went up to 19 weeks before the Premier League ruled against it and said, no, we're not going to be able to pass it through based upon the piracy laws that they had against illegal streaming rights of the Premier League. But as soon as they pulled that away, Saudi Arabia was suddenly allowed to go straight through and buy Newcastle. And people, as if it wants to be portrayed or not, there was government pressure and involvement on the Premier League. Because at the end of the day, Saudi Arabia will provide oil, gas reserves. It will provide a future in terms of economy for Britain. In the same way that the Qataris, if they want to put pressure on the British government to get involved in the Premier League, it might speed it up. Like I'm sure a lot of people want, and I'm sure you will want, Jay, they want to speed the process up. Of course they do. But the one thing that, even with the Qataris or Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos, is that they haven't ever planned for a window. It's let's get in and then let's plan. They're not preemptively planning. And big football clubs, they normally plan 2 or 3 windows in advance anyway. And it's just a case of if an ownership group wants to come in and take those plans on and just follow those plans and blueprints there, if they feel like that's the right way of going, or if when they eventually get in, say if that is, say, next summertime, a new ownership group, they prefer to come in the summer anyway because it's a longer playing field to actually make an impact. Whereas January, it's as me and Mick, me and you agreed last time anyway, it's a buyer's market. It's not a buyer's market. So at the end of the day, when you're trying to make an impact in January, it's very hard unless you're just going to blow the door open and you're going to open a wad of cash like what Chelsea have done, and they've not really given a care in the world, but then ship all their players off to Saudi Arabia in the summer, and it's made up for it.
Listen, I'm just want to sort of concerned so we don't go over 2 hours. Like, this perfectly agree with you saying, but you can just use your logic as well to say if Sir Jim Ratcliffe's bid was so good, Glazers would have taken it a long time ago, to be honest, right? So that's what I'm saying. Yes, you're right. Like, mergers and acquisitions can take up to 2 years, 18 months per normal. And as you said, this is a multi-billion-dollar deal. Like, there's a lot of things that needs to be cross-checked, and the deal can be agreed in principle, but still there's a lot of transactional paperwork, lawyers involved. What do you call it? It's not due diligence.
Legal and logistics, really.
Legal and logistics. This is kind of the final stages with any of award of contract, to be honest. So for me, I'm cool. The only thing is that the Glazers cannot put they cannot call the hand at the moment with the financial report, which usually comes out on the 22nd, 20th of September, like clockwork. Hasn't been delayed. But apparently there is some extension to the 31st of October, because what happens is, from a financial perspective, this is illegally binding. You have, investors and everything. And if you put that you are in announcing the sales, you have to put on the financial report, or that the sales takeover is still ongoing. So therefore, they have not released anything. So that gives me some form of, may I say, suspicion. Is it a correct word to say, Tom?
Well, they have to put an update in it. Whether, like you say, that there's an agreement or there's negotiations with a party, or the process is just running as it is. That's what they did. They said that the process was concurrent based upon the last financial report, but they just didn't give any major details. Hence why a lot of people sit here and they say there's no clarity on what's actually going on, because there isn't anything that's been publicly broadcasted to anybody.
No. So, Tom, what I'm trying to say here, without even saying it, I want people to use their own logic and reasoning and sense. What I'm trying to say here is, if you are in a hardcore negotiation, working with the PR team, just backing the tape, what I said before, that you're working on this releasement, because it's been reported from some people to say, yes, you will hear something in October, sale might happen in November. Yeah, but that comes into that. If you are the new business owner, you don't want to operate under the budget, because what you're doing here is setting the financial budget plans for next year, meaning appreciation, staff, everything. What money do you have to spend? Now, what I'm trying to say here is to say, by tradition, 20th or 22nd of September, that report has been come out like clockworks. But for some reason, what we're saying here, Tom, is well to say that they're delaying it. They don't want to show their hand, meaning there's something is going on. That's just logical, right? Isn't it, guys? Or is it just me thinking out of the equation without even saying it? Andy, what do you reckon?
This is way over my head, mate. I just give abuse and give views. You know what I mean? This is way over. If I had a PhD in what Tom does, I'd tell you what, I'd be living in Marbella and Barbados, mate, with my crew and my family and all.
Okay, Andy, the floor is yours.
It's way
the floor is yours. Andy, floor is yours. What topic? Let's go. The floor is yours, Tal.
Before we go, we have a super chat. Guys, we haven't forgot about you. Big up Nathaniel and Lucky Smith. A donation of 14 South African. I think that's South African, right? Andy, Tate, and Jay, great to see you both. Great show. Big up to all of you. And for that, you deserve a deflated Arsenal balloon. in the middle of the preseason. I saw even AFC here, like one of with a Gunner. Welcome everyone that's not Manchester United. This is Manchester United channel, but everyone is welcome in the VR room. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's go. Andy, talk to us.
Well, I was kind of wound up today with the allegation made by Alan Brazil on TalkSport. He knows somebody doesn't like Ten Hag, the way they treated Ronaldo, the way they treated Jadon Sancho, and I sent a video over to Mick with a little bit of Rabsi Nesbitt. See me, Alan Brazil. I know fuck all about football, but I know Ten Hag is a bad manager. You see, I've been on the wee swally at 8:10 in the morning. So I'm a drunken bastard. And I'm just going to say what I say. I don't like Ten Hag. I was a shit footballer. You know what? He should have more respect. He played for Manchester United as well. He should have some more respect. Not act like a Rapsy fucking Nesbitt with on the wee swally. Should have a fucking headband and a string vest, the cunt.
Yeah, and let's be fair, Andy, even when Brazil played, he almost looked like he was fond of the points in the past, didn't he? He almost looked overweight when he played.
He did.
And now he looks like
I liked him when we signed him. I thought he was okay because I was like 9-10 years old. We were getting these players. We just won the FA Cup, and I thought he's okay. But like you say, he don't last long. Like he don't last long on a drink, does it? So you know.
Yeah. I actually opened the show with that point about Brazil, and as well, I alluded to the same thing that it's international break. TalkSport have to speak about something, and what better than to talk rubbish about our club, because it's clickbait central on a Wednesday morning for TalkSport. So, and the claims that Brazil makes are completely unsubstantiated. They're without any grounding whatsoever. So I'm with you on that, Andy. And you have to send me that Rabsi Nesbitt clip. I actually want to see it. It sounds hilarious.
Yeah. Mick's got it. He'll send it over to you.
Yeah, it sounds good.
I was laughing, mate. I was laughing.
Rush Mata wants to know who is Alan Brazil. Basically, fat tubby striker we signed in the 80s, didn't work out. Job done. Jonathan, are you having that?
Brilliantly put.
We're having a laugh. Anyway,
we move on. Andy, next point. We've done fat Brazil. Next point.
Well, the next point, I just think, they say the media. Say I've gone to war on certain YouTube channels now. I don't watch any of them. I've blocked them on my feeds. I've deleted them. I don't say I've got a grudge against the football terrorists. I used to respect it, but everything is clickbait. Absolutely clickbait, and I hate it. It's if like on the media as well. If there was, let's say, good journalism, I would like to read about it and watch it. You know what I mean? I've said this a dozen times. It's why I've got rid of Sky. It's why I don't listen to TalkSport. There's not many people out there now with decent channels who really want to do this. Being one of them. Realist TV and the Stretford Paddock. There's a few others out there, but like you say, the rest of them, they're all like say click.
Yeah, I am. I like the Paddock stuff, and I like Housen stuff. Housen does a very good 5 things we learn from the game. It's short, it's snappy, concise, and it's tactically he's on the money. Tactically, I do like his analysis. He's on the money, and there's no bullshit. So I like his stuff. To be fair,
I respect Housen a lot. Actually, I listen to Housen whenever he does his 15-10 minutes video. That is really good shit. What I'm saying regarding
I like him on Rio's channel as well. He's good on there. So.
True. Paddock, I watch. Yeah. So I mean, there's one thing in my mind when I created this channel, because I was tired of a club being dragged in the mud by a certain privilege, media and stuff like that. I'm too Patriot red, so I love this club. I love this community. Like you guys are like family at the end of the day. So I got to meet everyone, single of you. But one thing that I never will do is to create clickbait stuff. Like, I'd like to keep it real. Freedom of speech. It's a big thing.
Yeah.
I never be
Andy,
sensational.
I have to ask Andy what he's on, because I don't know when we're going to Andy on again. Andy, what's your take on the African Massimo Tate in goal?
I'm going to give him... I love him. He's teething problems. He's teething problems. He's just got to get it right. If you look at the records, I've seen the records. David De Gea's first few games to the same amount of Unana's games. It's the same amount of goals conceded, and then he started to settle. Yes, he should have saved that Saturday. I was effing and jeffing at Stretford End. I'm not going to deny it. Against Galatasaray, I was like, what the frig are you doing, man?
Okay.
It's teething problems. You know what I mean? You don't become a bad keeper just like that. You don't.
Okay. That's fair.
You've been to a Champions League semi-final, basically a Champions League final as well. Inter Milan's man of the match for that match last season as well against City.
I agree.
You don't go from a bad keeper overnight. It's just
that's fair.
He's just
that's
keeping
fair.
it out. But if he keeps doing it, then you got to by the right keeper. But you just got to let him get beyond Christmas and see where we are.
Okay, Jonathan, I'll got one for you, Jonathan. How do you solve a problem like Marcus Rashford?
You mean Tom?
Sorry, Tom. Sorry, my apologies, Tom. So the Glazers would call him the franchise player. 350,000 bags a week. Should have sold him to PSG, cashed in when we had a chance. Last season, he did well last season. But in the last 5 years, he's played with Ibrahimovic. Didn't learn jack shit from Ibrahimovic. He played with Ronaldo, the GOAT. Didn't learn jack shit. So I just want to hear your take on it. I've given my spiel on Rashford. I can't stand him. What's yours?
Wait a minute. We have some mad people going in the chat requesting
Hello,
this
lads. This is Bella. I am back with...
Go ahead. That was Bella. They wanted to see Bella. Go ahead. Continue.
Tom, Rashford, what do you reckon?
Yeah.
What's your take?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, you've had a player here. People categorise him as a young player. He's not a young player. He's been here, I think, upwards of 8-9 years now. He's an experienced player, if we're being honest. And he doesn't do the hard yards. I'll be completely honest. He doesn't do the hard yards, not for me anyway. I think at the end of the day, when I see him in game, he's too one-dimensional. He's always cut inside, smash it in with the right foot. Beat 3, 4, 5 players, be the superstar at the Stretford End. That's what he wants to be. But we've had that sort of player for generations. We had that with Cantona. You had that with players like Rooney, with Ronaldo. You've had that players. Marcus Rashford wants to be what they have been. But with the way that football's gone now, football's changed. It's not an individual game. It's a team game. And you need to build a team, not of individuals, but a group collectively that are ambitious, that know the style of play that the manager wants to play, and can actually put it into practice. And the one thing that I think with Marcus Rashford is he was the only leading light that Erik ten Hag had reasonably in attack when he came into Manchester United last season. I think he was the only player that he looked out of all of the front players and thought, yeah, I can rely on you. You're going to actually get me goals. You're going to actually be that predator player that I need. But as soon as Marcus Rashford didn't play last season, you saw the massive impact, especially in terms of the goals in the final third, because it dropped off like a sore thumb. And even in the Wolves game, we didn't really do much. We didn't touch Wolves in the game. As soon as he brought Marcus Rashford and he scored the goal and really saved the bacon in the game. And like you said, Jay, he got 30 goals last season. So statistically, he did well. But stats aren't everything, as we've seen with players like when you criticise Bruno Fernandez for actual contribution towards the team. And at the end of the day, with the way I look at with Rashford is, if Erik ten Hag wants to build a team that are going to play together and actually win, and he wants to do the same style of football that he wanted to use at Ajax, Marcus Rashford's not the winger for him because he's too one-dimensional. He needs a player who can take the ball to the byline, swing it in, but he also needs the player that you know what? I don't care. I'm going to take 3, 4, 5 people on. I'm going to be like what Martinelli does at Arsenal. I'm going to do what Saka does. The team players, those two, as I call it, proper old-fashioned wingers. They'll do everything. But for me, Rashford, I just think too one-sided.
True.
Excellent points, Tom. Andy, same question to you. You're a match-going fan. Obviously, at matches, you see the full 360 dimensional of the pitch. You see the player off the ball, what he is doing, what he's not doing. As Tom said, alluded to, I agree with Tom's points. I'm watching on TV. I'm just dumbfounded, but I'm watching from Rashford. What's your take on it?
I don't think he's with it. I really don't. Like I said, I think he's just fallen off a cliff. I mean, he has stuttered since the Carabao Cup final. When we won that cup, it was like, yeah, we are so high. He scored. I apologised on the Stretford paddock and said, I said some really nasty things about Rashford in the weeks leading up to during that season. And I thought, I was bang out of order. And I think now, since that Carabao Cup final, he has stuttered, chugged along like chitty chitty bang bang, and just sorry man, I'm sorry. He has stuttered like chitty chitty bang bang, and he's just he never recovered his form. I know he was injured a bit. He didn't play in the last 4 games. I know, but in the cup final as well. Come on, man! It's an FA Cup final against Man City, and it's like at the end, it's like, you know what, Rashford, cry me a river. I've heard it all before. In the major finals we've been in, you've only turned up once, and
that's my point, Andy, Jonathan, and Mick. Like he's played.
Tom.
Sorry, Tom. Sorry, I owe me that.
You're all right. You're all right.
He's played beside, predators such as Ronaldo and Ibra. Like, who better to learn from how to finish, how to be clinical on a pitch, and how to actually be professional in your job and be consistent in your job and performance than those two. And as you rightly pointed out, Tom, he's 25 now, going to 26. This is his peak years. And he's not doing it. And Andy, never apologize, right? Because of 2 reasons. Players always revert back to type. I've seen it time and time and time again. And what did Roy Keane always say? Leopards don't change their spots. So, mate, never apologize. Because I certainly wouldn't.
Luke Shaw's like that. Like, some United players will play absolute blinders for months and months. And when they get to a certain point, they revert back to the prime.
Andy, shall I tell you what that is? They play like that when they have 18 months left on their contract. They sign a big mega deal for 4 or 5 years on 200 plus a week, and then suddenly down tools and it drops. Performance drops, commitment, confidence, everything goes out the window. And at the end of the day, when you want to look at a player like Marcus Rashford, he's had every single manager's different style under the sun. Van Gaal, Mourinho, Ole, even now with Ten Hag. He's had so many different styles, like Jason. He's had so many mentor players to actually learn off of, characteristics. Cavani's movement in the box, that's something to learn off of. Ibrahimovic, commitment, actual directness in the 18-yard box, leadership qualities. You can learn off of that. Even Cristiano Ronaldo, commitment in training. The physique the guy is in, even at 38, 37. Like, he's past his... Many people will say he's past his best. But physically, he'd put some, 25-year-olds to shame in terms of actual commitment to training. Like what you might say with what's happened with, say, Jadon Sancho, with he doesn't try hard enough in training or whatever.
He puts people to shame. In his interview with Piers Morgan, certain young players, and you wonder, does Rashford come under that banner?
But gentlemen, Tom, I love the point you raised there. You raised the physique of Ronaldo at 38 years of age. Now, okay, so it's not all about the player being 5% body fat and ripped and shredded to the bone. But the amount of times I've seen our players, I'm going to go on our players, with their tops off in training or sleeveless tops, they look so puny. They're like 16-year-old boys. They look so docile. I can't get over their shit physiques. Now, I'm coming from my background. I'm trying 25 years. So I know what I'm looking at. I know what I'm talking about. So, and I've seen pictures of Carrington Gym from an insider who's sent me pictures. I couldn't train. Sorry, I've lost my mic. If I walked into a gym like Carrington, I'd be looking to speak to the manager. Carrington Gym is not fit for purpose as a general run-of-the-mill workout gym, let alone a facility to train elite athletes.
Not for high performance, it's not.
It's not high performance. And I've seen the pictures, Tom, so I know what I'm looking at here. And Mick can corroborate this. Like, this is my business.
No,
like,
of course
so if the infrastructure in the gym isn't there, well, clearly the staff aren't there, because surely the staff are speaking out. Listen, we can't work with this equipment. It's not what we need for cutting edge high performance. So we're reading what we saw. We have injuries. That's the injury list. Come on. And it's not just this season. It's not this season. It's perennial, our injury list. So the question I always ask is, and I'm glad you raised that one, Tom, what's going on with strength and conditioning?
True.
What's going wrong there? What's going wrong with their diet and nutrition? Let's be fair. These players eat at the club 3 times a day. They probably go home. They probably go home then with a packed dinner or lunch for nighttime. Every player, if I was running that club, every player would be on their own individualized macros to suit their biomechanical makeup and to suit their physique. Not a catch-all diet. Do you remember 2 years ago, guys? They were on a preseason training camp, and I actually broke this tweet. It was sent to me again by a very good insider. The menu was chicken burgers on a preseason training camp, and it was regular bread or white bread on the pre-season training camp. That's not how you fuel an elite athlete.
No.
So I know, I've gone off topic slightly. So
yes,
goes back to the phrase we always say: we are run like a Muppet show.
Yes.
So what happens on the pitch on a Saturday didn't just happen that Saturday, gentlemen. It's manifested for weeks and months and years. The unprofessional, low standards that club has accepted for years.
Yeah.
I
can answer that question, basically what you're saying, because we know that they have lacked science department is what they say. You pay peanuts, you get monkeys. That's a classic saying, isn't it? Like, you instead of getting the best in class, you get somebody just graduated. Or
look, Ralph went in there and he ripped it apart and he called it a spade. You give me 2 months in there, I will change that sports science department. Rip it apart. Literally rip it apart.
They didn't even
2 months.
They didn't even have a sports psychologist to come in and help with their mental health issues. So Ralph brought in this Sasha guy, whatever it's called.
Sasha Lynch, yeah.
Yeah, he brought him in as well. But I don't know, guys, if you have missed this one, but I have a perfect to answer what's going on with Bruno, what's going on with Onana and all them stuff. Like, I have no other than Captain Bruno Fernandez to rant about what's really is going on. Are you ready to hear from Captain Bruno?
Yeah.
Okay, let's bring Bruno to the stage.
Hello Manchester United fans. It is me, your captain Bruno Fernandez. I know what you are thinking. It was
with a Nigerian accent though.
It's a hard win yesterday. We came back from the dead with a 2-1 win with a late goal from Scott Mark sideways. The guy was refusing to leave the club in the summer. I advised him to take that job as Ronald McDonald at McDonald's in Salford, but I am glad he stayed. Why? Well, that Scottish bastard saved our asses, and today we avoid 10 Hawks push-ups punishment. So happy Sunday, motherfuckers. What? Today the whole team will gather at Scotty's house to have a happy meal with extra mac sauce. Let me tell you what went down yesterday. Brentford came to pack the bus, we dominated them like proper dons. It was as Johnny Sins spanking of Mia Khalifa on a certain adult website. Yes, you heard me, Brentford was our beach, as what they say, come from behind, ha ha ha.
Nice.
However, Lindesoft was sleeping again and played flipper pinball again, or was it Jadon Sancho that was controlling his mode on FIFA? Jensen scored and then the fuckers put up a brick wall and Marcus Rashford was constantly running into it, like a crash test dummy without looking where he is going, or like a rabbit staring at your headlights as you are about to smash it. But I would call him out that he is like a blind man walking without his guide dog. Then we have this Onana goalkeeper who have Kit Kat biscuit fingers. What the hell, he leaks in goals for fun. Bring me back my friend David De Gea, at least he was good at crossing his legs, just like a nun, protecting her virginity, avoiding no balls, to get in. Rashi, what an idiot. I mean, pass the fucking ball. I cannot lie. I am tired like you. Listen fucking, since I came to this club, I have played every game, only missed one match, I had no rest or holiday. Now, I have worked my balls off, for you fans, so please, show me some fucking respect. Okay. I know it is hard. The world is against us, people always say United is a dying club. But we are not a dying club. We are a club that is coming back stronger than ever. We are a club that is coming back to where it belongs. We are a club that is coming back to where it is supposed to be. So Manchester United fans, keep your heads up. Keep your heads up and believe in yourselves. Believe in your club. Believe in your players. Believe in yourselves and keep on going. Your captain Bruno.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up.
So there you go. Captain Bruno with Nigerian accent.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, well,
Well,
actually, this is sick, twisted mind on mine. So anyway, like, I create AI stuff and, but he's got a point. This is answering what I have to say about the situation. Like a crash test dummy, like, one track minded, constantly running into that brick wall without looking up, or like a,
The fact, Mick, that you got blind man Scott McSideways and Mia Khalifa in the same video. That takes a bit of work. So respect.
Yeah, and Happy Meal at Scotty's for McSauce. No, seriously, like, which leads me to how do we move on from here, guys? Like, how do we, clearly that hasn't worked. There's injured player coming back. Kobe Mainoo was reported, like, a little bit precautionary, like, are we going to see favoritism again, or are we going to expect him to drop certain players? Just because there's big stars on the team sheet doesn't mean they have to start.
He won't drop them. It'll be actually interesting, Tom, Mick, and Andy. If we had a game Saturday, nice Ashton break. Rashford had a stinker last week. Would you think he would have dropped Bruno for this weekend if there was a game, hypothetically? I don't think he would. I honestly don't think he would. Tom, Andy, what's your opinion?
I think did Bruno get man of the match award on Saturday? I heard he did. He got a man of the match award. I don't know which one it was, but somebody said he did. I don't know.
Oh, that was just some gobshite in English media. I take no heed to that.
Honestly, I think I will drop him. For
he did.
one.
He did. Confirmed.
How?
I drop him. Honestly, because the performance on Saturday, I was watching the game, man. Influencing. He's not influencing. I said in the previous games, like, we were on a nice little run. We beaten Burnley. We rested players for the Crystal Palace game.
Yeah.
And it was good. There was flowing. There was positivity. That was the best we played. And it was good. And he changed it. He reverted back to it against Palace on a Saturday. And I said this, what God-given right is Bruno, Casemiro, Marcus Rashford to go start them games when there's an old saying, if it ain't broke, why fix it? And it cost us dearly against Crystal Palace. Now, I understand you may go back to it for the European game. That's fine. That's fair enough. Change it up a bit, but like you say, Hannibal, he didn't play Hannibal against Crystal Palace. You know what I mean? And he brought on, he took him off against Galatasaray brought on Ericsson. I mean, it's what crowd was screaming for Garnacho on last Saturday, and when he come on, the applause as Rashford was going off and the jeers and the sarcasm, it was round the ground. So it's like players, like you say, like you said before, Jay. Some players, right? I've got where I want to be. I'm just on the pitch now. That's it. It's a mentality thing.
So Tom,
Jay, I
do you
just
think?
want to reiterate that we have 88
go ahead.
likes and 12 more for 100 likes. So, guys, please don't be like the greedy Glazers. Like, smash that like button, burn extra calories. It doesn't cost anything. Like, if you're on a weight loss program, you're gonna burn 1 or 2 more calories. But just reaching out, there's a lot of buttons down there. Please,
guys, you gotta smash a like, at least for all the work that was put into Mick doing that Bruno roast. Okay, the accent is shit. The accent is shit. The accent is shit. But the content is funny. It's funny. Tom, in your professional estimation, is it a fact that Ten Hag has just, as you already pointed out, he's seen Rashford as his player, his guy, and is trying to play him into form? Or is it coming down, again, I'm just speculating here, is it coming down from the powers above that Rashford is the franchise player when fit you play him? What's your thoughts?
I wouldn't necessarily say the franchise player, because Man United for majority of last season, their club captain, in that case, Harry Maguire, was on the bench. And really, you would say from that opinion that the club hierarchy would influence why are you not playing your club captain? Like, he's been one of England's best defenders over the last couple of years. He's always in the England squad. That question would have obviously been asked to Ten Hag, and it was that, well, I brought in a new left-sided centre-back in Martinez, and that's where Maguire would play. But I don't see him as a left-sided centre-back. In Rashford's case, I call Rashford the poster boy player. He's the poster boy for Manchester United because local lad, the family, his mother and everything, relying on food banks, didn't really have a lot, had a tough upbringing, but he's come through it. He had that breakout season with Louis van Gaal, and he never looked back since then. And you can say there's two sides to Rashford, the person and the player. The person, he's got a heart of gold. We know that from what he did with the free school meals campaign with the UK government. But the player, Marcus Rashford, I just don't see the fire in his eyes. I don't see the desire. And what I think with Ten Hag is he looks at Rashford and Fernandez in particular, the two of them. Those were the players that for majority of last season got him out of very tight situations. And really, in a lot of the games, either Fernandez played a brilliant ball for a player to go through clean on goal, or Marcus Rashford shimmied 5 or 6 players and stuck one in the corner. And that was really United's attack for last season. But for me, I just think that Ten Hag, he needs to change something. Either by changing, I mean, change the formation and try something completely different. I don't know, play Rashford and Højlund as split strikers and try and get him to partner with somebody, because he doesn't look like he has any sort of partnership with any of the front players. It's literally gun-ho Marcus Rashford. That's how I look at it. Or you try it where pull him out of the team for a game like you did against Palace. Let somebody who, somebody's been waiting on that bench. I would say for majority of this, Garnacho, hungry young player who really is the Marcus Rashford of 9 years ago. He's that young player who nobody heard of, but he was the superstar player in the academy, and give them a go. And the one thing, though, with Garnacho is I don't want to see him bring him in for this game and then revert back to type the next game like he did with Palace. No. Let the player have 5 or 6 games. Let him actually have a run out in the games consistently. Because if you're not going to give the kid a fair crack of the whip, what are you expecting him to do in 15 minutes coming off the bench?
Tom,
it's very hard to make any sort of an impact that way.
You're spot on that analysis.
For me, I would pull him out of the team if it was my opinion, and I'd give Garnacho 5 or 6 games. And I don't care what Rashford does in training or anything. Comes off the bench and scores. I don't care. Give the youngster the chance. He's waited long enough.
I have 2 points that I want to sort of throw back there as well to say 100% agree, because hungry players want to come in and make a mark. Like, we saw that on the the weekend game. Like, the ones that changed the game was the hungry bench players that came in and wanted to prove themselves. Like, all fairness, Harry Maguire, I know what everyone is thinking by Harry, but Harry was good when he came in. Scott McTominay could have scored a hat-trick. And these are hungry bench players they're dying to come in and prove themselves. Just because you're the star boy or whatever, you have to be played because you're the poster boy of Manchester United, doesn't mean that you have to play. Then, on the other hand, I was reading, like, we have Ahmad coming back as well. There's going to be competition for the places. We have Garnacho as well. Pelistri is there as well. There was even reports today, Tom, that he might go on a loan in January. But do you think he will go on loan in January? Or because what I want to bring to the stage here is something that I read today. I want your opinion regarding this as well. Do you want to make a bet?
I don't think United's got about £75 million liquidating around for a striker.
We may do. Come in the next few weeks, mate. Come January.
No, but it says, according to this
why not?
According to Mirror Football, it says there was a tweet today to say Manchester United could enter the race to sign Ivan Toney in January. Brentford wants £60 million.
Guys,
they don't want 60. I'll promise you that they'd want 100. They see Ivan Toney as one of the best Premier League strikers in the league because
he's bang average.
He gets you over 20 goals. That's how they look at it, and he's their best player.
He's consistent. He's consistent.
They're gonna want the most money. That's the reason being. They're gonna want the most money, and he gets you those goals. And if I'm being honest with you, Ivan Toney, I think he stays in London anyway. He'll go to Chelsea or Arsenal if he goes anywhere. Yeah. I'd be shocked if he comes up. I'd be shocked if he comes up north.
Andy,
maybe Spurs with the money, but I don't know.
No, I think I can't remember, but at least Ten Hag is looking at the Brazilian market. He's looking at he hasn't really given up because Benjamin Sesko has been what's the scouting department. They are really, really impressed with Benjamin Sesko. It goes back into years now, and there's always that link to bring in another, how do I say, a clone of Højlund, but a young player for the future as well. And Benjamin Sesko fits that profile. We got to talk about Højlund as well.
Guys, just to raise one point, right? Hypothetically speaking, it's not going to happen. You bring in the betting man, as I call him. He's a striker still not getting service from a selfish, indulgent left winger. So it's not going to work anyway. The last point that I want to raise before I get off, right, is this.
Yeah. No, just
Tom and Andy, been two Englishmen. Remember when every manager of England had to shoehorn Gerrard and Lampard into the team? Now Ten Hag has to shoehorn his captain on the right wing and Mason Mount into the team because when Amrabat is fit, he plays just like Casemiro. So, question for you, gentlemen: has Ten Hag created a rod for his own back by signing Mason Mount and having to shoehorn Bruno onto the right wing when both Bruno and Mount are fit?
I don't think he has. I don't think he has because, like you say, a Bruno who is, like you say, Bruno's maybe on a decline a bit, a little bit. Same with Casemiro. So you bring it in. Mount's fresh, he's young. So you need competition for places. You can't keep playing the same midfield week in, week out. You've got to rotate. So yeah,
agreed.
Competition. This is why he wanted him. Whether he's the right player is another thing. I accept that, Jay. I accept, but you need competition. This is why.
Agreed, Andy. But Ten Hag will not pick Mount over Bruno at number 10.
No,
he won't do it. He'll play them both, and he'll put Bruno on the right wing. And I accept what you're saying. Commission for places. Bruno ain't cutting it right now. Stick him on the bench. Play him out. I'm for that 100%. So that's why I asked: has Ten Hag created a rod for his own back by signing Mount? We won't drop Bruno.
I don't think
Tom?
I don't know.
I think the average age of that midfield, it needed a younger midfielder, and with Mount, you've got a midfielder who He's a utility player, really. He can play a lot of different positions. You said, Jay, as before, he can play the wide right role if need be.
Yep.
He can play 10. He might not be the best number 8 in the world, but he can do a job for you there. He can play a couple of roles. And with how congested United were last season, they probably could have done with a player like Mason Mount to fill a couple of gaps in the squad. But when trying to fit Fernandez and Mount in the same team, it's never going to work. And either he made the wrong decision by making Fernandez captain because now there's going to be the pressure on you when you drop your captain because that is his chosen captain. MaGuire wasn't his, so he couldn't understand dropping him. But if he drops Fernandez, there's going to be the criticism there because he picked the guy. He said that I want you to be my captain. Will you accept? And Fernandez said, yeah, I want to take on the leadership role. With Mount, it's a difficult dilemma because at the end of the day, even if you don't play Mount in all of the games, having him come off the bench is probably better than what we had last season.
Rotation, yeah.
That's the only difference, and maybe that be where we kept that myth where Fernandez plays too many games and he doesn't get that adequate rest. Well, Mason Mount could play that position in a non-plus game like against Palace in the Carabao Cup. It was a perfect role for him to play. Or again, if you want to rotate players, then you've still got 2 young players here in Hannibal and Kobe Manu who again can have opportunities alongside a Mason Mount. So the youthfulness, I guess, has come back into the midfield. But
listen, I'm a little bit conscious about time. We're running out of the time, but I just want to bring in our lovely producer that's been sitting in the background. That's done a brilliant show today. It was his debut today. Mark, welcome to this stage as well. I hope you are dressed and decent because he did a brilliant piece of video this morning. Mark, are you ready to come on?
I'm here, but my camera is off. So
yeah, you don't have to have the camera because you did a brilliant piece of video today. One thing that we need to strengthen, guys, is the defense, the center halves, and it's been reported and what you did today that we are looking at some, center backs, important ones, because midfield. Let's face it, we're good there, right, guys? Attacking we are good, right? Okay, but the center back position is the area that Ten Hag is kind of looking at. Tom, do you agree that? I mean, which were the targets that we are currently looking at? I mean, in January or in the summer?
Goncalo Ramos is one. He's like 19, left-footed, very good on the ball. He has very good technical ability. His strengths are reading the game and finding spaces to play out from the back. So he's a ball-playing centre-back, almost like Leacher. And I think that makes him a more priority than Antonio Silva, who, as we know, will possibly cost United somewhere in the region of 80 million euros because he's a very, very important player at Benfica. Also, there's another defender that we have been looking at recently as well. And I think I mentioned him this morning. Besides Goncalo Ramos, Todibo, we're looking at John Clare Todibo again.
Todibo, yeah, that's still.
But if not, we might be in for Tapsoba. So but the focus on defense right now has been the 2 younger defenders, which are Antonio Silva and Goncalo Ramos, which is the more prominent one, I think, because the scouting department seems to favor him. In the midfield, we are looking at some young players. Like Mick said, we are tapping into the South American market. So they're looking at Loran. He's at Flamengo right now, and he's been doing well this season. He's been showing consistent form. So that's one to highlight, as well as the one Luis Guilherme. He plays at Palmeiras, where Real Madrid just signed Endrick from, and he's very, very talented. So
and striker position, I understood we are still in for looking at potentially like a Marcos Leonardo from Brazil as well, and also Benjamin Sesko. But we see, I don't know. For me, defense has been the problem this season, guys, and. If the Glazers comes to sell and the new owners come in, Tom, definitely we have money to go in the January window because they will treat that as their own signing, like a summer signing, right?
Potentially, but again, even you have a new owner that comes in. Let's play devil's advocate in hindsight. Qatar comes in. We know that they'll clear the debt straight away, so it gives United some flexibility, but it won't give them the sort of flexibility to make maybe the perfect player that they want. It would have to be maybe a cheap alternative, or maybe there's a loan option that's a quality player out there on the market. Like, people say, I don't know, Matthijs de Ligt, for example, is not having a good run of form at Bayern.
They could be a loan.
They might look at loaning him. That's what I mean. So you might be able to get a name with a loan, or it just might be a case of the way that Ten Hag always operated when he came in was, I don't care about just getting any player. I want the right player. That's the motto that Erik Ten Hag stood by. And when you're trying to recruit centre-backs, the club have their sort of sphere of players, and Erik Ten Hag has his sphere of players, and it's almost like, can we try and stick on the same name, effectively? And if the names match up and the profiles match up, then they'll try and sign the players. But at the end of the day, with, say, what Mark just said about some of the players, I know another centre about that Manchester United are heavily looking at the moment in time, and that's MaGuire at Crystal Palace. Young, English, up-and-coming centre-half. If I'm being completely honest with you, if Harry Maguire wasn't maybe given the treatment that he has been from Gareth Southgate, he would probably be in that England contention squad right now.
Probably.
And I don't think there's much of a case to argue why he shouldn't be.
Harry must make a very good cuppa Earl Grey to Southgate whenever he comes there to play. He's his favorite. Makes good tea, I guess. Guys, it's time to close the shop. We lost Jay, unfortunately. Thank you, Jay, for coming in. It was a cracking show with Jay. Listen, never sleep on the loan market, as what you said, Tom, as well. I would suspect that, Ten Hag has a finger on the pulse on, overseeing Matthijs de Ligt, which is one of his children, alongside with De Jong and all that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So if he's not getting game time, he's probably going to speak to Bayern to say, hey, are you willing to loan him out? Why not? Maybe he's not. Maybe he will have his, if it's a loan deal for the rest of the season, why not? Guys, let me know in the comments what you think. Would you take De Ligt on a loan? Would you rather go and get another striker than Ivan Toney, like in January? I certainly would look forward. But it's a long way, guys, to January transfer window. But what matters is that we are actually bolstering and strengthening, because it's a long season away. Anyway, big up for everyone. We have over 106 likes. Great show, fellas. Great show. We didn't get many people to call in. We didn't even share. We were so busy. Andy came in. Tom Journalist came in as well. Mark came in at the end of the day to cover for Jay that had to go. And listen, stay beautiful and don't let the media spin bites you. I know we're not playing game for another 2 weeks. Andy, thank you so much. How you doing? How's Mrs.?
Tom,
everything
Andy,
else?
Always a pleasure to see you guys.
All good, guys. All good in the hood, as Tupac would say. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're a Tupac fan. Love United, hate the Glazers, Rushman. Thank you, everyone. Moderators, thank you for all the super chats. Thank you for the contribution. This show was all for you. It's been MUFC Realist TV, and we're going to round up the show with Bella. Take it away, guys. Good evening, and see us later.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up by smashing that like button. Subscribe if you have not done so yet. If you want to take it to the next level, you can always show your appreciation to sponsor our channel by clicking below the video title, where you will see the heart icon with the text saying, thanks. Or you could buy me a cheeky little coffee by scanning this barcode, or visit this link to buy me a virtual coffee. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this content. Remember, glory, glory, Man United, Glazers out. It is green and gold until we are announced and sold. That was all from me. I wish you a good day and a great match experience, and I shall see you in the next video. Goodbye.
Thank you so much for stopping by and watching MUFC Realist TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and follow us on the socials.